know. I see some familiar faces here. My name is Melissa Sweeney, and I'm representing Felcor on the Santa Monica Hotel by the Pier project. Tonight we're going to be giving you an overview, a presentation of the project, as well as a sort of walkthrough architecturally of how the project was conceived and where we're going to go with it from now. This is we're at the conceptual stage of this, so what you're seeing here is not a done deal by any means. We'll be going through a very lengthy entitlements process, and at every step of the way you will have your say. Tonight you will see on your agenda I am doing the introduction and welcomes. I want to introduce to you the project team, Deborah Feldman and Tom Corcoran of Felcor. They're the applicants. And we also have David Rogers of the architectural firm Jurdy Partnership, and Phil Simonelli.
Excuse me. Why don't you stand in the middle so everyone can hear you better?
Okay. And I'm sorry about this PA thing. It's just, yeah, I hear you. I hope you can hear me. So we have the architecture team and the applicant team, and so what we'll do is go through the presentation, and at the end of the presentation we'll have a Q&A session. So your questions, concerns, etc. can be addressed then. And just to make sure that everybody gets the remarks in and we have time to answer your questions thoughtfully, I ask that you fill out one of these speaker cards, and they will be brought to me, and then I'll be able to call you. I'll call 3 at a time, and as it's done at Planning Commission and City Council. And we're asking you to limit your comments to 5 minutes, more or less, so that everyone has a chance to speak. So make sure you have these. I want to make sure you all signed in. It's important for us to be able to give you updates on the project. And on that note, I will hand this over to Tom Corcoran of Felcor.
Thank you, Melissa. Can everybody hear? Fine? Okay. All right. Well, it's a pleasure. To your ear? We welcome here to this, our first official community meeting. We're very proud to be here. One of the first things I'm going to do before I hand it off to Debbie is to talk about who Felcor is. Felcor owns the hotel. Felcor Lodging Trust was started by actually Debbie's father, Herbie Feldman, and myself, and therefore the name Felcor Lodging Trust comes from Herbie's first 3 initials of his last name and the first 3 of mine, and that was the clever marketing plan we came up with to come up with the name of our company. We started in 1991 with 1 hotel in Dallas, Texas. We went public in 1996. We have been, and I'm obviously, as a co-founder of the company, very proud of the company that we built and the kind of hotels that we built. We went public in 1994 and built up the company over the years. Today I have about 60-some hotels. But I think one of the things I wanted to point out to you was a part of what Felcor stands for is a very unique company culture. We have annual lunches for all the employees where I cook once a month at the corporate offices, and we believe that you have a place that you really like to work and enjoy working. I became the chairman of the company in 2006, and I had an opportunity, instead of doing the day-to-day work of being a CEO of a public company, to work on a couple projects. In Santa Monica happened to be one that I said I'd like to work on as part of what I did as a chairman of the company. And so I and Debbie have been working on this, and Debbie started out as a hotel manager. She's got a lot of operational experience. Her dream was to get in the development business, and she actually started in that in 2005. And she's the real project manager. I actually say I kind of work for her most of the time, but it's a real pleasure for me to work with Debbie and to work on this project. We spent a lot of time over the last couple years laying the groundwork, having meetings with people. Really glad to finally reach our first community meeting, but I think that this process, and we know it's a long, lengthy process, but we believe we have a very unique, significant project that we would like to proceed with. And with that, I think I'm going to just say, Debbie, you know, most people don't know what to do on their birthday. Debbie wanted to come to a community meeting in Santa Monica on her birthday. So here's Debbie Feldman.
We purposely planned this tonight for a birthday present. This is Tom's idea of a birthday present. He told you. Oh, yeah, I know. I know. Tom told you a little bit about Felcor. I've been there since 1997, so a long time, considering when the company started. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the hotel as it is today. The hotel, this is a rendering from when the hotel was built. The hotel was actually built in 1966. So the very same building that was built in 1966 is the same building you see sitting there today. We bought this hotel in 2004, and the hotel today has 132 hotel rooms. It has 97 parking spaces. It has a small restaurant in it. It's a limited service hotel. In about 2006, so just a few years after we bought the hotel, we became aware of what was about to happen around us. And what I mean by that is the significant infrastructure improvements that the city was beginning to make. And of course, included in that, as I'm sure everyone knows, the Expo Light Rail is now under construction, which is 2 blocks to our east. The Tongva Park, which is now open, and I hope everyone in this room has been there, because Tom and I happened to go in it literally on the first day they took the fence down. We kind of snuck in around the fence at 6 o'clock in the morning. And if you haven't had a chance to be there, you must go. It is beyond spectacular. So the Tongva Park is now open. The Colorado Esplanade is coming. This is going to be a beautification project that starts at the Expo Light Rail at about 5th in Colorado and comes all the way down to Ocean. And I'll talk in a second a little bit more about the Colorado Esplanade in case you're not familiar with it. And then the other thing that's coming is, of course, the Pier Bridge renovation. So the bottom line is, again, back several years ago, we looked and we said, my gosh, there's just this incredible investment that the city is making in our neighborhood. And we said, here we are in our 1966 building, maybe we should think about doing something different and complementing what's happening around us. So since 2006, we have gone through 3 architects, probably no less than, I'm going to say, 30 or 40 plans of different options, and one of which, or some of which, by the way, we explored putting an addition on the hotel, which is not feasible because of the age of the existing building and not being able to make that work structurally and so on. And so anyway, after 3 architects, 40 or 50 plans, last summer we hired the Journey Partnership. They're based in Venice. They are our 4th and final architect. And no, you are, trust me. That's it. And so they're going to present their conceptual plans to you tonight. And in a moment we'll get to the Journey Partnership. Just real briefly, I wanted to tell you that. So the Colorado Esplanade that's coming, I'm not exactly sure of the timing of it, but it's designed. And what will happen is the vehicular traffic will become all one way, and it'll be heading west toward Ocean. And there will be those 2 lanes of traffic. Then there will be 2 lanes of bicycle track on the south side. And then there will be a very, very wide sidewalk on our side, so in front of our hotel. And this is important for us to explain for a couple reasons, and I'll get into the access to our site in a bit. But the point being that this is coming, it's spectacular. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to see the designs. I'm sure they're online. But again, a project that's literally happening at our front door that we want to be part of and we want to complement. I think I'm going to let Tom talk to you about our existing site and what we're dealing with today. So I'm going to turn it over to Tom.
Thanks, Deb. When we bought the hotel in 2004, we had no thoughts that we were going to do anything in this building. We were going to spend some money on renovation. I don't think had a clue what Santa Monica had envisioned around our hotel. But what you'll find unique about this hotel is the fact that you've got more than 50% of the property line. A lot of people consider us in a hole. In fact, the more times I talked to people around Santa Monica, I was amazed how many people had never been to the hotel, never had a drink there, never went to the restaurant, never went to a meeting. They just didn't use the hotel. And it's not unusual for people who live in the city not to use a hotel because they have a place to live. But there are a lot of hotels in this town where the community does in fact socialize at, go to events, restaurants, and what we found is people never went to the Holiday Inn. They had no reason to go to the Holiday Inn. There was nothing there that was inviting for the community. But when they built this hotel, the guy decided to build the west wall and also the east wall have no windows. So the architect from Springfield, Missouri decided that there didn't need to be any windows facing the ocean. When you look at, if you look at property along I-10, you don't see any properties this close. We're right there. When you look along Ocean, we basically we're 40 feet off of Ocean, and there's only 16 feet of our property actually on Ocean. And then the part that's on Colorado is right at the sidewalk. And so there was no vision in trying to make that hotel about the community. So when we looked at where the opportunities were and what we can do with it, and as I think we really began to understand the dynamics and what was really going on in Santa Monica, we realized we had an opportunity to do something with all the Esplanade and the park and all the things that were going on. We really got a vision that we had an opportunity to do something with this. And with that in mind, trying to say, how do you make something out of this? What can you do? And Debbie will kind of walk through some of it. So I'm going to introduce you now to David Rogers, who is one of the guys who has really inspired me when we walked in after we had worked through 3 different firms and kind of laid out the situation and how he thought and made us think through what we could do with this very unique, odd property.
Actually, you're bringing me back, and I'm going to talk about the program.
Oh, I screwed up.
See? He wasn't kidding.
I screwed up.
Case in point. I have to keep things under control. So I'm going to tell you just briefly, this is actually, if you took a handout when you came in, this information is actually on your handout. It's on our website, but I'm going to go through it with you anyway, fairly quickly. As I said to you, the current hotel today has 132 rooms. Our new redeveloped project would have 211 guest rooms, 25 residential units, 180 parking spaces. The site area, that sliver of land you see, is about 28,000 square feet. The FAR, the floor area ratio of our new project, is 6.11. There's 5,500 square feet of meeting space. There's 30.
Define what FAR means.
Yes, I can. Absolutely. The initials stand for floor area ratio. What it is, it's a mathematical equation, and you take the building square footage divided by the site square footage, and that's how you come up with. So it's basically explaining the density of what your building is on your site. It's a simple math equation. And I'll come back to that in a second, too. 7,000 square foot ground floor restaurant, 6,000 square foot rooftop restaurant that has an express elevator off of Main Street, and as I mentioned briefly, vehicular access from Main Street. So I'm going to address a couple of these points in a little more detail. For those people who are familiar with the FAR concept, and maybe as you've attended downtown specific plan meetings or heard this, the FAR of 6.11 admittedly sounds extremely high. I know that. What I wanted to say is, again, to your question, it's really a mathematical equation. We have a very small site, relatively speaking. The 170,000 square feet that we propose to build, believe it or not, is actually smaller than the average of the 7 major hotels that exist in this city today. So again, you have to put it in perspective. It is a bigger project than we have today, but it is in no way, shape, or form bigger than what exists of the 7 major hotels in the city. So again, when you have a small site, this is what you're up against. So I just wanted to point that out about FAR. The other thing I wanted to just point out is I mentioned the vehicular access, moving it from Colorado onto Main Street. The reason for this is that between the one-way traffic, the 2 lanes of bicycles, this 30-foot wide sidewalk, and hundreds of pedestrians streaming off light rail, it makes it a very conflicted ingress and egress for our guests and for visitors. So you will see in our plans how we propose to move our entrance onto Main Street. I think this does a couple things. Certainly it helps our visitors, but it also helps the Colorado Esplanade. It takes vehicles off of the Esplanade from our project. So that's the program, and I think at this point I'm actually going to turn it over to the illustrious David Rogers of Journey.
He's been introduced twice already.
Who's been introduced twice?
Good evening. It was really great talking to some of you as you came in, and we certainly hope to be able to talk to you tonight and after tonight at many community meetings that we're going to have. It's
A lot closer to us, we'll hear you a lot better. Thank you.
nice to be here tonight. Is that better?
Much better.
All right. Because this is all about a co-creative effort. We're all going to get together over the next months and design this project in a very community-like way, much like one of the bigger projects I worked on in Santa Monica previously, because it was the eight years of looking at schemes that and community.
Whoa! Better.
Oh, well, all right. I won't hurt myself, will I?
You can stand back.
Okay. Anyway, community involvement. We're real big advocates of community involvement because we as architects have a tendency to get focused very quickly into things, and we are derivative people. We look at everything conceivable component of the community and the neighborhoods and the individual family situations. All of this in a comprehensive, sustainable way begins to address how a project goes together. They're never the same, and it's always different, as opposed to a formulaic system where you come in and you develop a project based on some preconceived ideas about it. So that's why the community involvement is really so important. So in a project, going too fast, back up. He's telling me I'm not moving fast enough. Within every project, you have all of the things that make the project work. There's architects and there's engineers and there's traffic engineers and all the pragmatics of it. But in order for us to start a project, even begin to start a project, there's basically 4 things that we begin to look at. And one of them is context, because the context is such an important component of the project. How could you possibly design a building or virtually anything that functions within a community or functions within a neighborhood without understanding all the details, the archaeology of the site, right? I mean, everybody can probably shake their head. Yeah, that's probably a pretty good idea. That's probably a pretty good idea. Sorry. Taffy was, thank you, Taffy. And especially context relative to this particular project, because the story for this project is in fact and I know there's people that are a little worried about gateway, but it's really the gateway, the California experience. Everybody wants the gateway to the California experience, right? So it becomes not only an international gateway, but it's also a gateway to the people within California and the people that live here. It's really an important component of it. And within the context, we have the new park, we have the Esplanade, the development of the pier, and we're the sort of organizing element between the park, the pier, and the city. So it's a really pivotal, yes, project in the city, and we want to make sure it's right on. So then we look at relationships, and relationships are built very successfully by spending a lot of time together, getting to know each other, figuring out what the objectives and the real deliverables are as far as you're concerned relative to you personally and the city and the community. And that we need to know all of this. So to establish those relationships is very important, and to understand, like the context, everything around us. So that's part of the archaeology. Then when it comes to the form, and the form is something that we talked about that before. We talked about the fact that the form is a derivative result of what we're doing within the development of the project, and it's really important. It's not preconceived. It's something that comes out of the site and becomes a part of the overall project for what we call a sustainable future. And that sustainable is very comprehensive, not just sustainable environmentally, but politically, socially, culturally within the community. And then finally, that final experience. You've probably heard the Journey Partnerships talking about experience makes the place. Well, in fact, it does. And we'll talk a little bit more about that tonight as well. All right, so now let's go through something that I think is important. And it'll just take a few minutes. We talk a little bit about process. We'll talk about the process of how we got where we got with this project point. Now, we've just started it, right? We're just starting. So this is just the beginning of how we would go about this. And we go into a room like this, and we'll probably do this a number of times in the community meetings. We go into a room with a bunch of markers and tracing paper, and nobody has a bad idea, and we just begin to think about how to put this project together. And we did that with this project, and then we got to a point we said, okay, let's try what we've kind of developed and see how it comes out. So that's what my colleague Phil Simonelli is going to do, who's headed up the project team in the office, show you what our final kind of result on that was. So the first thing we talk about, of course, is the context. Now we're going to run through the 4 pieces again. We go through the context and how it. Bad deal. I'm going to have to do something that I've been told I can't do. So I'm going to go over to the screen. All right. So contextually, the Esplanade becomes a major influence here. How the Esplanade's new drive through from Main to 2nd Street, how the relationship to Morty works. You'll notice in our project we see on 2nd Street, we see right through the entire project our famous Morty. Morty is this tree right here. We've got a photograph of it. Where's our Morty image? It's right there. There's Morty. Huge tree in the park. All right. It's a neighbor of yours that you haven't met. Yeah. Okay. So begin to think about also, and this is a very important part of this, is bringing the park. Remember I talked about the interface between the city of Santa Monica and the park, this sort of organizing element, the project being that pivotal part, and bringing views of the park into the project. So that begins to get our feet on the ground if we're looking at context. Okay, fair? Next. Now let's look at the relationships to each other and to the park. For example, in this case, we have the edge of the hotel, and one of the priorities that we set for ourselves was that every room in the hotel would have a view of the oceans and the mountains of Catalina and Malibu. Everyone. There's not one that doesn't have that view. That's a pretty big task to take on. So that was what this was talking about. This was also talking about the connectivity to the park and the relationship to the rest of the city. Next. So then we were talking about the form and the architecture of the project, and here was was a time where we went through a lot of the architecture that was already put together for this project. So I'm going to just look at some models here for a minute with you. By the way, that is the final piece that we put together. That's the site, and that's the final piece we put together. We're just testing the initial ideas at the moment. We feel pretty good about it, but we're just testing it. And then we begin to put together, some of the architects talk about their 10,000 models that they've built, and I'm actually bringing a few with me today. That's the site, and that's the existing hotel. So the first thing we looked at was, well, what if we just stayed within the height limit and maxed out our FAR, to your point. We maxed out the FAR. What we get is sort of a big wall between the park and the city. So this is not that connective tissue we were talking about. That doesn't sound like a very good idea. So then let's and Debbie mentioned this, let's look at remodeling the existing hotel, that one, and just bolt a nose on it right here. So, and that the nose works pretty well, but the rest of the body is definitely deficient. So then we said, look, let's take this up and chop it up. So we perforate it so we can connect the park to the city and the city to the park and visually really open it up. And so then we said, okay, well, let's look at this idea. So if this is facing the ocean, and these are stepping down, we had beautiful terraces looking towards the city and then City of LA, and then looking out the nose. There's something wrong with this, isn't there? It's backwards. You ever put your shoes on backwards? This is it. So we said, look, wouldn't it be logical to develop something like this? It's a series of terraces, and let's see if we can make this work, because now it connects. We talk about visual connection to the park, visual connection to the city from that part of the park, looking under it to Morty, and this began then the development of the piece you see right here. And so we took these sort of what I call ideations. These are just ideations, and then we developed those up and ran them through the scheme, and that gave us this form and this architecture. And I'm nearly finished. So next slide. And then the experience along, for example, Colorado, and how that experience is deficient at the moment, which Phil's going to show us in some before and after photograph, along Colorado, and how we can improve that experience and make the place much more user-friendly and much more community-friendly. So those are the four pieces, and now I think what we need to do is move forward into an explanation of the actual scheme that we've developed. So Phil, would you take these very carefully away from me?
Thank you. Okay, good evening, everybody. What I'd like to do is walk you through a number of images and a number of diagrams. And what we're going to try to do is, hopefully the images, the diagrams, give you an idea, a summary of what our goals are, which have already been explained by Tom, Deborah, and David. But they'll outline it in a more physical way, as opposed to a kind of a more conceptual, diagrammatic way. The first image we have is we're looking along Colorado Avenue. We're on the north side of the existing hotel. The existing hotel right now has a restaurant closest to us, and it has some back-of-house services along the west side of the hotel. And right behind the point of view of the picture is the vehicular entryway. Sidewalk's probably about 8 feet wide, and there's really nothing to activate this side of the hotel. It's really just a linear path that gets you either to the bus stop, the pier, down Colorado Avenue, or takes you toward the Gateway Park. In our proposed scheme, what we're looking to do is we're looking to pull the building back, the facade, and create these kind of nook areas where we could have really kind of an area of activity. We're looking to put retail, food and beverage tenants. We have the hotel lobby off on the left side. The idea isn't to use the Colorado Esplanade, but we want to pull the building back. So we're actually kind of using the property site to have seating, to have experience where people can actually come out, have breakfast, brunch, meet your friends. You become part of the area as opposed to just kind of walking past it. So it's really about kind of bringing experience to the site. This is the view as we look west. We're along Colorado Avenue. This is the entryway onto Main Street right now. The park is currently broken up into two areas. Main Street intersects Colorado at a 90-degree angle, creating a park on both the east and the west side. We'll get to the plans. We'll outline what the city's goals are along with the Esplanade plan of how Main Street will now take a dogleg left over the bridge and connect closer to 2nd Street. But you can see the facade of the building. There's no interaction. Nobody in the hotel actually has a chance to see the mountains, the rest of the city, Santa Monica. And so what we're looking to do is we're looking to create this vibrant entryway off this new Main Street. The goals here are basically to relocate the driveway, as Deborah has talked about, off of the Main Street. We'll outline that in the plans. We have designed a glass 2 express elevators that would take you up to the rooftop terrace. So you wouldn't have to go through the hotel, kind of find an elevator inside the lobby. It's open to the public. Anybody could get up to the top level and enjoy the restaurant and the sun deck. We're looking to raise the first floor, so it's really 2 levels, and that would give us a really nice high hotel entryway lobby. It would be, our idea at this point is that it's a very transparent lobby, transparent first floor. A lot of glass, maybe public art piece inside the lobby, water features, paving materials, just kind of a very rich experience to really complement all of the work the city has done so far. Okay, so now we get back to Morty the Bay Fig. This is looking directly south from 2nd Street. It is a prominent landscape feature in Santa Monica. Clearly, I think I was in my car just looking directly south as the light turned green, and I snapped this shot. And it is a major feature. It's a beautiful tree when you're in the park. And so what we're looking to do is we want to create a framework out of the hotel. We want to create a very open view towards that tree and keep it a prominent part of Santa Monica. So once again, the hotel lobby is transparent. We raised the hotel, actually the usable lounge will be on the 2nd level. And people can drive through and see this fantastic tree in Tongva Park. This, of course, is the view as you leave Santa Monica Pier. As Tom talked about, it's a solid wall. When the building was built, it's a concrete moment frame. All of the rooms face north and south. This facade actually has an exit stair on the one side, and it really doesn't allow for any interaction with the pier or the ocean. So, you know, our idea is to actually design a facade that steps back and gives everybody in the hotel a chance to view one of the greatest views in the country, in the world. We have 3 terraces. We want to introduce planting. You can see the conical trees along Colorado Avenue, but we also want to bring in planting from Tongva Park. You know, we're looking at planting the roofs. We have open air walkways between the buildings. There could be ivy on the walkways. We totally want to green this project, keep it outdoors. We want the ocean breezes to come through. And I think those are all things that we can develop as we develop the plans for the hotel. This is a view from New Tongva Park, looking back at the Wyndham Hotel. Once again, you get a sense of the west wall and the windows facing the park, and you actually don't see the 10 freeway at all. And so what's interesting is as we started designing this project, the 10 freeway really only became a boundary for us. It wasn't a hindrance. It really wasn't a problem for us in any way. We knew the building was going to be somewhat defined by that edge, but it didn't determine kind of any negative aspects of the design. It's just a highway that's there, and we'll deal with sound. And I think we're looking at it as if you were in the park, you don't see the 10, and you would want to see downtown and the perforated building. So this is a view actually from more of the civic side of Tongva Park, as if you were coming out of City Hall and you were looking northwest. And what we're hoping that the hotel does is it becomes a very kind of vibrant backdrop for the park and complements the park, as opposed to a 1967, 66 stucco building. So that's our hope, and obviously we're going to be looking through all these meetings at developing materials, perforations on the building, and what happens to the form of the building. I think right now we're just looking at this as this is the form of the building at this point, and we're actually pretty happy with the way it complements the park. This is an aerial view from the northwest. It kind of outlines the 3 terraces, and we'll get to that in the roof plan. The idea with the terraces is that the terrace on the building to the west, so we've got the west building, the central building, and the east building. And the west building would have a infinity pool and sun deck for all of the guests at the hotel. The central deck would have a kind of more of a lap infinity pool for the residents and a fitness center. And the top deck is the public deck for hotel users, residents of Santa Monica, visitors, anybody who wants to go up there, with a restaurant. Right now it's a double-level restaurant up on the top level. So now I'll walk you through the plans that we've developed. And right now these are very diagrammatic. The first move is you can see how Main Street now comes over the 10 freeway, and it does this dogleg left to create Gateway Park, a single park instead of the double parks on either side. That's part of Santa Monica's Esplanade plan. And so what we did was our driveway currently, as Deborah mentioned earlier, is off of Colorado, right near the bike lane, and very close to the 2nd Street intersection. And one of the first moves that we thought about was relocating the driveway. So you didn't have, the numbers that we got were, there was a possibility of 27,000 people a day coming out of the light rail station on a Saturday afternoon. And we said, well, we don't want hundreds of bicycles, 27,000 people, and trying to cross a car across all of that. So we instantly, the first move was to separate vehicular and pedestrian access. And so we drive off the Main Street entryway. The orange box to the right of the circular drop-off is the express elevator that would take you up to the top roof deck. There's the drop-off area and the hotel lobby, which could have access off of the drop-off and could also have access off of Colorado Avenue, which is the Esplanade. Then we're looking at cutting back the building facade So we could either have retail, some small cafes to activate the cutback in the elevation, in the facade, and then a feature restaurant, hopefully facing west, fantastic views at night, the sunset. It's one of the greatest views, and I think it would really be great to take advantage of that. This is a second floor plan, but it's also a typical floor plan. It's very similar to the sketch David outlined earlier. The idea is that the guest rooms all have views of the ocean, Malibu. When you're up on top of the hotel, you can actually see Catalina. It's just an amazing view, and the first time I ever went to the hotel, I had no idea this existed. And Debbie took us up to the top of the hotel, and the first thing we did was we stepped over all the mechanical equipment just to get to the west side. And we said, this is amazing. We said, I can't believe no one's ever seen this. So obviously it was a big generation point. The idea is that there's the three building masses again, with the open air walkways between the buildings. Second floor would have a planted terrace above the first floor level. We'd have an interior lobby on the second floor, and above that interior lobby at the second floor would be an atrium space that would go all the way up along the glass facade. The atriums happen actually on each part of the buildings. So we'd have an atrium facing the east. The central building has two atriums, and the smaller building has one atrium. It's all to get natural light, possible ventilation into the building. There's always winds off the ocean. We really want to take advantage of this. This is a typical residential floor. Right now what we're looking at is we're looking at about 5 units a floor. It equates to 25 residential units for the top 5 floors, so level 10 through 14 would each have 5 levels, a total of 25. The atrium space continues up through the residential space. So there's possibilities to get air even up at that height. Everybody would have their own deck, and we'd work that out with the decks along the lower levels for the hotel. So I think from a diagram point of view, you can start to see how the building is stepping. This is the roof plan. So it kind of outlines the east, the west, and the central building. The ocean terrace, once again, for hotel users, the park terrace for the residential, and the skyline terrace for everybody. So that was the idea. The idea was that everybody got access to the highest terrace, the water feature, the restaurant, and the views of the ocean and the surrounding city. And the final diagram that I'll walk you through is actually the building section. So what we're looking to do is we're looking to maintain, the hotel already has 3 levels of subterranean parking. So we're going to follow that diagram and keep 3 levels below the building. Come in off of Main Street, there'd be a ramp that would drive you into all 3 levels. The hotel lobby at the first floor and the restaurant. In the atrium space of the first floor, we would have meeting rooms for the hotel. Center section of the building is the hotel rooms. In the center building, you see the fitness area up on the top, the 5 levels of residential, and then the restaurant and the sun terrace on the top building. So right now, as far as the diagram and the model, the lower terrace is 63 feet. The park terrace is 96. It's 107 on top of the fitness. Fitness is not accessible to the public. It's just a roof over the fitness area. And then the skyline terrace would be the 174 feet and 195 feet over the restaurant. And with that, I'll hand it back to Deborah.
I'm going to talk for just a couple of minutes about project benefits. And after I talk about this, Tom's going to come up and talk to you more specifically about community benefits. So this is just to clarify, this is what we consider to be the project benefits. You've already heard all of this, but just to repeat, a significant goal of creating the pedestrian-friendly sidewalk and cafe with the Colorado Esplanade. I think we've explained that experientially today, it's not a positive or friendly experience, and we believe that we have the ability to make it so. Creating setbacks on Colorado to enhance softscape greening and greening along the retaining wall that would be along 10. Phil spent a lot of time talking about how we want to integrate landscape into the building, whether it's on the terraces, whether it's through the building, so on and so forth. So just integrating that whole landscape into the building. We just finished talking again about moving the vehicular access off Colorado. Certainly it helps the project, but as importantly, I think it helps the Esplanade itself in terms of taking the vehicular traffic away from all these pedestrians and bicyclists. Another project benefit is the new hotel with 211 rooms and 25 residential units. We estimate that there would be probably about 200 employees, and they would be union employees. We're in talks with Unite Here Now, so they would be unionized employees. And last but certainly not least, the project today, or I'm sorry, the hotel today generates right around $1 million a year in taxes for the city. And we've had some preliminary estimates from a financial report that says it would generate an additional $3.5 million a year. So for a total of $4.5 to $5 million a year in city taxes. So those are the project benefits, and I'll turn it to Tom to talk for a minute about community benefits.
Thanks, Debbie. First off, I think hopefully through this presentation, you will want to come to this project when it's done. You will want to actually experience what this will bring to the community. We're at a very early stage in the process, and we've listed here items that are community benefits. We think, obviously, to the extent that there's assistance for finalizing and getting the final funding for the Colorado Esplanade makes a lot of sense. We recognize, again, on affordable housing, that's going to be a piece of it. But all of this, in terms of the overall community benefits that we are going to do, will be a part of the process. Some of it's going to come from the citizens who are going to give us input as to what they think we should be doing. So we're going to go along that. We're going to listen to people, and we will try to come up with something that makes it all financially feasible and sound for everybody and is helpful to people. Again, I think this is a spectacular design that tries to really bring something to Santa Monica that says something about that people will want to see. And when your friends come visit you, you'll want to bring them to this site. You'll want to take them up to the rooftop and show them what you can see. This is what I think will be a huge place that people will want to actually come to. And then the next, in terms of the process, the one thing I wanted to explain on the process that going forward is that, you know, we know we're in the early part. We know this is a long process. And so and we actually, you know, Debbie talked about, started a while back in terms of what we're doing, but this kind of lays out for you. We recognize as a part of the uniqueness of Santa Monica this community meeting and other meetings with city people and with the city and working through. However, there are various points where people have thoughts, have other ideas, other ways to input. We think we got a good foundation from which to go from, but we're looking forward to this continued process and input from the community. Now, before I turn it over to Melissa to do the Q&A, about 6 weeks, 2 months ago, someone sent me this thing I'm about to show you that apparently was an event that occurred in Santa Monica on a movie about sharks and tornadoes, and I thought this was kind of funny. Now, what you can't figure out is how that Ferris wheel get all the way around and be able to come into the building that way, but that's what this movie producer did. Huh? Not that angle. Not that angle. So, Melissa, if you want to set up for the Q&A, and I appreciate everybody's listening to our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm really sorry about this inadequate audio system, so we're going to try to work with it. I'm trying to do a little Boy Scout thing here. I'm going to call speakers according to these speaker cards, and I will call them 3 at a time and just queue up, if you could, to this mic. Now, what is important to know is that this microphone feeds into that camera. All of this is public record, so not to worry, your remarks will be heard. I want to make sure that everyone's remarks are heard by everybody else. So we have one microphone going into this PA system. So there may be some handing the microphone back and forth if you can tolerate that. So as I said, we've got 12 speakers, so and we need to be out of here by 9 o'clock. The library closes then. So I think we're in good shape here. If you could limit your comments to 5 minutes, that would be great. Ask a question. Janice? Yeah, you can hear it, but we have to do 2 microphones. Yeah. So what I think we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to ask your questions and make your comments, and then we'll pass the microphone back to the team. This is what we're unfortunately having to do tonight. So without further ado, Simone Gordon is our first card, Mayara Robbins, and Jennifer Southard. So this is the one that goes in the PA, and you will automatically be
This
up
one,
there.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Can everybody hear me? Good. Okay. So to start, I think this is an absolutely beautiful and innovative project. It's really the nicest project for the opportunity sites that I've seen. So my understanding is that you're increasing the hotel rooms from 132 to 211, and this is great because Santa Monica needs more hotel rooms. And my understanding is that you're also including a rooftop restaurant, which is amazing. I've long said that we should have more of those in Santa Monica, similar to the Hotel Irwin in Venice. And so your project will also include 25 condos, and that's great. I'm not opposed to that, but I believe we can have these condos without building a really high tower, so we can keep the low-rise character of Santa Monica that a lot of residents really cherish. And the one other concern I have is that this plan moves or basically relocates the drive-in entrance from Colorado to Main Street. And I personally think this should be reconsidered because Main Street is a really narrow and busy street. But thank you. This is a beautiful project, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this evolves over time.
Thank you, Simone. I'm going to hand it off to our team. If you all have any comments about that? We have to do the two. I'm sorry about this.
Thank you. Just one quick comment on the Main Street. As part of the Esplanade, the Main Street will be widening significantly. It's going to be widened into 3 lanes as it comes across the bridge. So I think that we have an opportunity there for the vehicular entrance. But thank you.
This little one, you hold on.
Oh, I held on to this one. All right.
Hi. Can you hear me? Yes. Myra Robbins. I live north of Montana. I think this is a beautiful project, too. The first time I saw it, I thought, wow, congratulations, because it's next to the freeway, and it's at the end of 2nd Street, and it's just a beautiful view. So I do have a couple concerns. One is the condos. We're just trying to not have the excess of building on top of a building. And I think that the height bothers me a little. I mean, you call it the hotel by the pier, and then they're condos, so you might want to rethink that. You also have 180 parking spaces. What's the meeting room capacity? Do you have any idea that? Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead and finish, and then
Okay.
I'll try to remember everything.
Because it just doesn't seem like enough. I know we go through this all the time with parking. We're not supposed to use our cars, but everybody seems to be using cars. I guess that's pretty much. The problem with the condos is that it sets a precedent, and there's a lot of developers right now who are trying to get very tall buildings, much taller than yours, and it's a big concern in this city from the residents. A lot of the residents are not here tonight. It's Thursday night is a crazy night in Santa Monica, believe it or not, and we've had other meetings where that's been the biggest topic, is the condos. So I'd love it if you would consider not having the condos. I get the financial end of it, but I'd love that. Thanks.
Well, the condos is really a very small component. I think I'm going to be real specific about this hotel because I don't think it's my job to defend anybody else's project. They got to live on their own. This is a very small component of it, but from a financial standpoint, it makes it possible. It's very expensive to build in Santa Monica, so what this does is reduce the total cost. And when people talk about community benefits, that comes from money. It comes from resources, and so I think as we go through it, it was, and we have, we've worked in terms of, we've looked at just doing it with completely without condos. We've looked at other ways of doing it, and it just makes it financially infeasible. And it's interesting, as we were listening to, some of the anecdotal discussions we've heard about the interest in some of the related projects, there is an amazing amount of interest of people who live in Santa Monica who want a new urban experience, who want to be a part of that new urban experience. And so I think there ought to be a different view of just that they're all bad. And so there are people who actually do want to live downtown, who maybe who are baby boomers, whose kids are finally leaving, and who are looking at various other opportunities. But the biggest reason, honestly, is the financial problem, is the issue.
So if I could make a comment off of that.
That's fine.
It's your hotel, you bought it. That's the problem that we come up with all the time, is people put all their millions of dollars into a building and then want to recoup it real fast at the residents' expense. And it's a very congested area. It will be a congested area, all of the downtown.
Well, I think if you know where our site is, it's on the edge of downtown, and the people, okay, if you understand the site, then we're not really into the downtown part yet. We're right on the edge. I mean, I think there's, again, if you talk specifically about this site, we are next to the I-10. We got 50% of our property on the interstate. It's a completely different, unique site because of where it's located in town. So it is different. Okay, well, I just wanted to say it. People don't have to drive through downtown to get there, is my point. Okay. Yeah.
The other piece of the question you asked was the parking, and there are 180 spaces in the project. We have actually had a study done that it's a parking demand study that's required of all of us. And first of all, to answer your question, the meeting space, there's 5,500 square feet, which is pretty insignificant, but it's there. So that was, I think, one of your questions, what's the meeting space? Regarding the parking demand study, what it's telling us is that taking into consideration the number of rooms, the number of residents, the meeting space, and the restaurant, that we can park our peak demand on site. So that's what the parking study tells us. The other piece that we didn't really verbalize that is part of the community benefits are a very, very aggressive transportation demand management program, working with our employees and visitors to use the public transportation. So that's another component of it.
So I don't know how you can force an employee to.
You can't, but when I say aggressive transportation demand plan, you basically subsidize their transportation. You subsidize them. If they're willing to use public transportation, you subsidize their paycheck to do so. And it becomes very interesting. So, well, yeah, so.
Okay, you hold on to that one.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So crazy, I know. Well,
Hi. I just wanted to say that this seems like a really great project. It's really beautiful. And I'm the mom of an 8-year-old daughter. She's really active and curious in the world. And I like the idea of being able to go down to the pier and spending the whole day without having to spend a whole lot of money. And if we have the opportunities to see the Santa Monica Bay from an observation deck, I think it would be inspirational and would give her some perspective on our beautiful coastline and keeping the ocean healthy. My question is, will the windows be operable and will they be safe?
I maybe should let Phil take this, but I'm not going to. The answer is we have every intention of making the windows operable, and that's for a couple of reasons. One, from a sustainability standpoint, allowing air, fresh air to come in. You don't, typically hotels are energy hogs, okay? And people come in and they turn the air conditioner on, and that's that. So the intention is that the windows will absolutely be operable, and they will absolutely be safe. I mean, that's, that has to be that way, right, Phil? Right, they'll meet all code regulations. Right, see if I can do this.
I take both of these. Oh, crazy.
Well, I think we could take it another step further. The way we're putting this thing together, at least at this point, is I think there's an excellent chance that the entire project could be self-ventilating because of the perforation of the elevations as well as the orientation. So I think there's a really good chance that not only we have operable windows, but if we can work it out properly, which I think we can with our sustainable specialists, I think the whole project could be self-ventilating, not only the room.
This is so awkward. I know, we should tape this together. Our next speaker is Jerry Rubin. Is he still here? Yes. Followed by Arlene, followed by Taffy Patton. Grab that one.
This one?
Yeah. Just crazy.
Well, thanks, Melissa, and thank all of you. I first want to say that the new Tongva Park is so beautiful that it deserves to have a tremendously designed hotel like this right next to it, and I think you succeeded. I'm very glad there's going to be more union people being hired, that you have pledged to be a union hotel. That's so important. I wish all the hotels would be that way, but that's it. I think it's a good idea to have your entrance and exit off of the Esplanade for the bikers, the pedestrians, and all the reasons you gave. If it's feasible, and I hope it is with the city, of course that's the right place to do it. I want to ask, after my comments are done, if this is going to be a high LEED developed project. I would hope you push for gold, of course. I'm wondering if you're going to be networking at all, even indirectly, with James Corner and the people that have designed the Esplanade about the landscaping. Because I think your sensitivity to the connectivity to our new Tongva Park is just amazing. That view of Morty, which is so precious. Some people have wanted to move Morty when they designed Tongva Park, but the city and everyone and the arborists said no. And you're wanting to highlight that is great. So I think that kind of landscaping that's connected there would be a real element of extra added pleasure for the community. It actually seems like once all this is done, it'll just be so many people coming there and having a good time in that area. Like, it's kind of a dead area now. There'll probably be more people coming to city council meetings too. And so I'm just excited about the whole new Civic Center. That's why I hope we can get the Civic Auditorium open so your guests will have a place to go and see concerts down there, and why that's so important too in the whole scheme of things. Anyhow, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi. Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Arlene, and I reside here in Santa Monica, and I also work in Santa Monica. And as a matter of fact, I work at the Wyndham, Santa Monica, at the at the pier now. Just want to say that it is a very exciting project. It's a very beautiful and very innovative project, and I cannot wait to have the hotel in Santa Monica. I think it's like you said, Ms. Falcon, that it will be complementary to the Santa Monica projects with the Esplanade, the pier, and also the Fanga Park. So it will be a great addition to Santa Monica. And my question is though, how many years do you think will it take for the buildings to be, from the ground up to build and to be finished?
Well,
All right. Both the mics are
Well, the,
remember how old you are now, Debbie.
no, I've forgotten already. Let me, you never ask a lady her age. Let me answer your question in a little broader sense. We had a process slide, and basically from today, in, what are we, September of 2013, we believe that from our rough estimate that to go through the process with the various meetings and the FLOTA meetings with the city and so on and so forth, the reality of it is, if the project were to be approved, we probably would not start construction until 2016. And from the time you start construction till the time it opens is probably, on the conservative side, 24 months and probably more than that. So realistically, I would think we're looking at probably 2018. Does that answer your question? Okay.
And Taffy?
Thank you. First, it's a beautiful hotel. And second, it's a terrific model. We really appreciate the 3D-ness of it so that we can see what it's going to look like. It's been a while. We've been asking for things like that, and we appreciate it. We meaning residents. What really saddens me is the size of that tower. The Shore Hotel is sustainable and makes a lot of money. It's 154 hotel rooms, and it brings a lot of revenue to the city, and we like that too. 154 rooms in one building that's 4 stories tall. Now you're proposing 3 buildings, one that's 5 stories, that's fine, one that's 8 stories, fine, and one that's a tower of about 17 stories. Let's add the floors and compare your proposal to this new successful hotel, the Shore Hotel. According to you, to get about 50 more hotel rooms, you have to build 26 stories. I find that a little hard to believe. Let's try the math again. Shutters on the Beach is a glitzy hotel. 7 stories, 198 rooms. You're only offering 13 more rooms than Shutters at the Beach, but you want a tower of 17 stories in return. That's about 1 hotel room per story and an FAR of 6.11. That's really, really dense. Residents here have made it really clear we don't want towers in Santa Monica, even beautiful towers like this one. When visitors step off the expo line, they should discover a new magical place. Green, low-rise Santa Monica. If you folks need condos to make money, please don't put them in towers. Thanks very much.
Council and everyone decides that they don't want the project, then the project won't be built. So I just want to make that really clear. We're presenting, not defending. Secondly, just as a couple of points I would make, just in response to some of the comments. The Shutters Hotel is spectacular. I've been there many times. It was built, I think, 30 plus years ago, and was built for, I believe, $18 million. The cost of our project is approximately $190 million. So things have changed drastically economically since the shutters opened. So that's therein lies the issue.
The Shore was built in 2011.
Right. The Shore was built in 2011. The issue for us versus the shore is that basically if we as developers are going to take the risk to do this, we have to tear down our existing hotel. And what I'm telling you is all public information because it's in our development agreement. But basically, if we scrape the site, we are writing off $60 million. So we're starting with a $60 million cost because that's what the hotel is worth today. So again, that's all public information. It's in our development agreement, but that really explains. The shore didn't have the value when they took the Travelodge down. I'm very familiar with that project. I know the Farzams, very familiar with how it worked. So it's just different economics, that's all.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mary Marlowe, followed by Allie Hewitt. And Andrew Hoyer.
Hi, my name's Mary Marlowe. I live in Ocean Park, which is very near here. And you might want to come up here because I have several questions. Is this going to be a Wyndham hotel? Because it's confusing. It was a Holiday and now it's a Wyndham. And a lot of times hotels are built by one entity and run by somebody else. So I'm curious about that. I guess we could do one question at a time, but I have about 4 or 5 that are quick ones like this. So we can just take turns, okay?
Okay, stand here.
Come join me.
Yes,
okay?
we'll just stand.
Okay.
That'll be it. Yeah, we'll just stand here and take our. That's fine, absolutely. First of all, yes, it's a little confusing. The hotel, as I said, was a Holiday Inn since 1966. We still own the hotel. We've owned it since 2004.
We got 3 mics?
Yeah, we are. We recently converted it to a Wyndham brand hotel. We still own it. It's just that we made a choice to change brands. In answer to your question about what it will be, I have no idea. We haven't even begun discussions as to what brand it would be if it were redeveloped.
Okay, then would you be running it, or is that somebody else? I mean, are you building to sell, or are you building to be the...
Well, we're building to be the owner. We don't, technically today, we don't run the hotel. We have Wyndham as a company manage it for us.
Okay.
Not to get too off track, but the structure of our company, which is a real estate investment trust, we are not allowed to manage the hotel, so we go out and hire people to manage for us. I don't think we want to get into that, but the point, is that me? Oh, sorry. Sorry, feedback. So the point is, we would build a hotel to own it, and I have no idea what brand it would be. Whatever brand it would be, then we would determine who we would choose to manage it.
Okay, because the other question I had, what's the room rate? Or what do you expect?
Right.
It looks like a big upgrade from what's there now.
Right.
So obviously
it is.
More?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Again, in the financial information we filed in our development agreement, we're estimating that the hotel would run a similar occupancy to what it does today, 78 to 80%. That's kind of a stabilized occupancy in Santa Monica. The average rate of the Wyndham today is it's 200, low 200s. And our estimate in today's dollars would be that it would probably be around $450. Okay. So,
okay, thank you. So it's going to be a lot more upscale.
Right.
Also, is there a cost for the Skyline Terrace? I'll tell you one of the reasons why people are concerned. There's a big concern in the city. I think you've heard it from some other people about towers. We've already had another hotel come to us and say, oh, we're going to put in an observation deck, but of course it'll cost you. So, and I have relatives in Chicago. I was there recently and went up to the top of the Sears Tower for $25. So that's why I think it's a good question.
No, it's a really good question. And the short answer is no, there's not a cost to go up there. Well, I would love it if you would go have a meal in the restaurant or a drink over Sunset, but there's not a cost to get on the elevator and go up there.
How many union employees, or how many employees do you have now? You're saying you're going to have 200 union, but that's an incremental.
It is. We have about
right?
we have about 40 employees today.
Oh, okay. So there's only 40 now. Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask is, one of the things you talked about was affordable housing as a possible community benefit. I don't see any possibility for it to be on site. I guess, have you considered that, or I'm wondering how would you do this?
Well, actually, we have considered it, And very early on, we had a conversation with someone in city staff, and they brought it to our attention that this may be a good opportunity for affordable housing to be considered off-site. And so it's very early on, and I think that's something we have to discuss, but I think there might be a tremendous opportunity to develop a lot more affordable housing off-site than we could on-site.
Oh, okay. Just a quick comment. I think the design is lovely. It's one of the best we've seen, but I have to disagree that iconic architecture, that's a site benefit. And I think it helps you draw visitors, and I think that's great. We all like to see good architecture, but it's not a community benefit, okay? It's really a benefit for you to, get more people. You want to come to the best hotel in town, right? So I would say that, and I think a lot of people are concerned about height, and particularly about condos, because it isn't like Santa Monica doesn't have a lot of luxury condos on Ocean Avenue. There are quite a few. So that's just a concern that you all need to be aware of. But I think you're going in the right direction. I've invited, just to, I guess, to be on record, I have invited Mr. Cochran and Ms. Feldman to join community meetings to talk about community benefits, because I think right now they're pretty nebulous, and we really need to have a good discussion on that. So I'm happy to arrange that meeting with the association neighborhood association I'm with, and also with other ones in the city. But we welcome you, and we welcome you to talk to us about it. So thank you. You can have your mic.
No, thank you. Thank you. Well, just a quick point on the iconic architecture. You are absolutely right. It is certainly a benefit to us. The reason it's up there is because, quite frankly, I have been to any number of community meetings that have been held, and that's one that's always cited by various individuals and shows up. So I agree with you 100%. We benefit from it, but I think the community does as well. And as far as coming to your neighborhood meetings, I said I met Ms. Marlowe earlier in the evening when she arrived, and this is our first public meeting. We are happy to meet with people individually, with neighborhood groups. I hope to be able to come to their October meeting. We've talked about that, so I hope that works out. So thank you.
It's crazy, but this
Sorry,
is what it is.
this is like
We have Allie Hewitt, followed by Andy Hoyer, and Emily McCarran.
Hello. I would like to start off by saying I'm very happy to see something really special instead of the old Holiday Inn building. This is very lovely. I think it will bring new foot traffic to the area and make it a lot safer for pedestrians. A few of my questions have already been answered, so I only have one. I would like to know if you'll be having, or if you will have a local hiring program for this.
The answer is yes. We hope to, and we hope to work with the union in doing so. I think the other thing that we were talking about is in terms of we're going to make all the efforts to hire locally for people who live here, and we think that creating a lot of these new jobs, that opportunity will exist.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andrew Hoyer, and I'm the president of Mid-City Neighbors. So our next meeting is October 21st. You might want to pencil it in.
I'll give you my card and send me an email.
Great. We haven't yet decided on a speaker, so maybe this will be our one. Yeah, well, yeah, I'm here, but not the rest of my board. In fact, I'm going to speak to a few concerns of one member of my board in particular, and mine as well. But first, when I first saw the description of this, the first patch article, first visual, I think it was that one, it looks fabulous. I have to commend you. This looks great. It kind of changed my opinion a little bit about tall buildings due to your location. You have a site where you're not going to be impacting very many people. I appreciated at least one of your diagrams included shadows. I'd like to see kind of a shadow study to see what all the shadows are going to be affecting. I'm pretty sure that corner is all pretty much retail, but I'm not sure if there's any residential there. Obviously, I'm concerned about residents. However, I do think it's a little tall. I think a few floors too many on the last tower. I like the form that my first thought was a three-masted ship on the ocean. Very appropriate for the site right next to Tongva Park. I love what you've shown us with the openings, being able to look through. I like the atriums. I like a lot of it. I'm not concerned about your FAR. Hotels, I can kind of just expect hotels to have a high FAR because of their function. It's a matter of your function. I'm very appreciative that you're switching to union. That is great. Are you currently union? You can just nod. So you're not. No. So that is a significant community benefit, and I very much appreciate that. Stand behind Jerry on that one. Brings up the follow-up question, will it be built with union labor? Because a lot of projects in this town are adamant against using union labor. You can answer that one later. I'll have just a few. I guess my main concern, and this, you're going to hear this a lot, the condos. I think you're going to hear that absolutely nobody is going to want condos. We've got lots of high-rise condos already. There's plenty of places for those people to buy their view. And you're proposing to take away some of our skyline and give it to people who can afford $1 million to $5 million condos. It's kind of offensive to me. I take it personally. I think that right now the Federal Reserve is keeping money really cheap. We keep hearing about how it costs practically nothing for money. Now, I know it's always a concern, but it would seem that if this project is going to generate the kind of money you're going to generate, there should be investors that would be interested. If there isn't, then I'm sorry you wasted your money on buying the piece of property, but it's not my problem. But I really, I'll stand behind your hotel. If you lower it just a little, lose a couple of those floors, and you get rid of the condos, personally, I will advocate for this hotel because I really like it. I ride my bicycle past there on my way home from the beach every day. Not every day. I wish I went down every day. And to be honest, when this first was discussed as an opportunity site, I had a blank space as to what was there. And I drove past 4 or 5 times before I thought, hey, I have to look and see what's actually there. And oh yeah, that's why I don't. It's a blank wall. So really, everything about this I really like. I love that the rooftop deck is going to be free and accessible. I think what you might run into is how you're going to regulate how many people are allowed up there. That's the only downside I see to that, but that's workable. So I look forward to coming and enjoying dinner in the restaurant. That sounds like a great place for my anniversary. So, thank you. And I guess the only question I really had was being built with union labor or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have not met with contractors, but I think generally speaking, we're very likely to go union labor. I mean, but we have not. We've had specific discussions with Unite here about employees, but we haven't really talked to the contractors. But in all likelihood, that's where the absolute direction that we're going to go. So I can't say we've had discussions with anybody like we have Unite here, but it makes sense that that's what you do here. Okay. Yeah.
I guess the only comment I would add to that is that I am just finishing up a $50 million project in Boston, another hotel that we own, and other than bathtub refinishers, for which there is not a union, that job has been 100% union labor. I'm very familiar with working with unions, contractors, and construction, so no qualms about it whatsoever.
Thank you. Emily McCarran, followed by Ruben Brampman. And Michael Hines.
I'd just like to say anything would be an improvement over what's there now. But I really love your design a lot. I want to have a staycation there. But I actually have 2 questions. So if I'm on Colorado and I'm looking at the new park, would I be able to see the freeway?
Well, no, you don't really. Sorry, go ahead. You don't really see the park. It's interesting. I think we had one slide where we showed you the hotel as it is today. We're standing in Tonga Park looking over, and you don't even recognize that there's a freeway there because it's buried beneath. So as you're looking over, you don't have that perception that there's even a freeway there.
Oh, nice. And then my other question, because partly I want to take a staycation there, because I really like the open, doorways. Hallways, sorry, and the windows, letting the air in, because I can't stand air conditioning personally. But I'm wondering how you guys are going to make that safe. Could you explain?
Why don't you take that one?
I don't want to fall out a window.
Well, what's really interesting that's happening all around the world is there's all kinds of facade companies. There's double facades on buildings that allow for ventilation. They allow for kind of a greenhouse effect. In the wintertime, there's a heated element behind the first layer of glass, which helps insulate the building. There's also windows and vents that can stay open and allow venting. And a lot of them are now automated with mechanical systems. So they're tied in with knowing what the temperature is on the building and what the temperature is on the outside of the building. And how many houses these days can you set your thermostat with your phone? And so it's actually a tremendous amount of technology that's come out. And I think the options of, first of all, everybody has the option of opening their door, and getting natural ventilation in the room. Opening up the building, I think, is probably going to be more of a thing where the system detects what the temperature is outside, what the temperature is inside, right? There's always pressure, there's smoke evacuation in atriums, right? All of that is tied in with mechanical ventilation. And I think Europe is clearly taking a lead on ventilating and naturally ventilating buildings, and it's starting to really come to the fore in the United States. And I think that's what we're really looking for and hoping that we can do on this project.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'd like to just add to that. I think there's an advantage for us in that respect, because we do work internationally. We virtually work all over the world, and we're able to see that just a simple digital technology that's available to us and mechanical systems, and how that they balance that with energy and waste. So technology is a big part of all of this, and it's all possible, and it's certainly safe. Yeah.
Hold on to that one. Our next speaker is Ruben Brown.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah. And Michael.
right.
Is he in the room? Feeling me there. And Paul Rosenstein.
Yeah, hi. Was this enough? Or that one too? Okay. Hi, I'm Ruben Brafman. I live on 1530 Fifth Street, which is about 3 blocks east of this development. I'm a retired mechanical engineer, and I'm sort of used to juggling things, trying to put 5 pounds of stuff in 3 pounds space. So I really appreciate the wonderful job you've done in packing in what you have into the site, and it's good looking. My compliments. And I looked at that little model of just a hotel, and it's beautiful, the curves and the openings between them. Then I looked down at the model as it sits in the neighborhood, my neighborhood. And I think Gertie was once involved in the Santa Monica Place renovation. Yeah. Original design, 2 or 3 big skyscrapers. Community responded to that with a great big no, and they're not there. And I compliment your courage in trying to put another skyscraper a block away.
Well, we don't like to give up.
Well, I appreciate your courage. I respect that. When I think of a park, I think of open space, blue sky, trees, and so on. I do not think of a wall of a building with a bunch of windows facing it. I think it's going to be it's not going to be an addition to the park. It's going to be, what do you call it? Not a distraction. It's going to diminish the park experience to have that great big wall. Frankly, I think it sits like a big sore thumb out there. I look at it and I think, boy, for a sore thumb, that's a good job. I don't like it. I love the site plan. I like the design of the buildings. I'd like them a lot shorter, no taller than 8 stories. Also, I live there, and I deal with traffic, now called gridlock. We have first-class gridlock in this town. Any increase in population density, I wonder why people would want to visit us. I wonder why people would want to work here and deal with that. Gridlock extends for many, many blocks, start and extend all the way up to Lincoln. Real big concern. I guess I'm talking about quality of life in this end of town. You say you're at the edge of downtown, but you're part of downtown. You impact these streets all around. And the impact doesn't feel too good aesthetically, frankly, to have blue sky, which has been our one of our commodities here. Important commodity for a beach town. And it's been successively impacted. Don't like it. Don't like walking down our concrete canyons that have come up. Although this isn't quite a concrete canyon. It is when you're coming down the freeway and also coming down Colorado. I think your idea to put the parking access on Main Street is excellent. Really, probably a really good job. Community benefits, word of mouth, trust. You know, I wonder how many promised community benefits have really come to pass fully in terms as originally presented. I see no mechanism to guarantee that those things are coming into place. And guess what I'm really saying is so-called community benefits versus quality of life in our area here. We're going to have a lot more people and a lot more cars, well, not so much cars, once light rail comes in. Going to get a lot more crowded. Basically what I'm saying, I'd like your buildings to be down to a scale that exists in the building. You can look at any number of things here and see all the buildings are, what, a quarter, half the, let's see, 15 stories, those are all 4 stories building. Maybe all the surrounding buildings are a quarter the size of this skyscraper. Basically, that's about it. I think the visuals really indicate that we got a sore thumb here. Thank you.
Thank you. The 2 former
I
mayors.
have one remark more.
Okay.
Please. And that's about the format here. It's like equivalent of a debate with a rebuttal and nothing more. And I, as an audience member, speaker, consider that unfair because I don't think I get a chance to say anything after you guys finish.
Thank you. Michael and Paul.
Thank you. Welcome. And what I've heard about you guys, I think I felt is true that you're kind of folksy, nice people who don't give us the traditional development crap presentations that we've had in previous years. So welcome and thank you. Whatever critiques I have, I appreciate your desire to be creative and to think big. I think it's important to think big. So please take my critiques with that in context. For me, the height is way out of control, just way too tall. so without getting into the uses, I like it being stepped back. It's obvious that it should be open to the west. I think the terracing makes sense, but way too much, too high. Second, I'm part of the folks in the community for whom the condos are a non-starter, and I appreciate your comments about the financing. I think most average people don't look at getting their money back in 5 years or shorter times. I think a lot of the folks who've come to this community, and I don't know your numbers, but a lot of the folks who've been promoting the condo and hotel projects here say, well, the only way we're going to get people to invest is if we get a payback in a certain short period of time. And that's not something most people can relate to. And this is a safe investment. This isn't Nigeria. We have a great Convention and Visitors Bureau. We have a very capable police force. We just raised your property value immensely by spending almost $40 million on Tongva Park. So all in all, it's not a bad place to take a risk, so to say. So, and there's also as my friend Andrew was saying, there's the sense in which selling the skyline and privatizing our views is a kick in the gut to the social justice fabric of this community, and a lot of people will be uncomfortable about that. Then there's the affordability of lodging in this town, and I wrote an op-ed in surfsantamonica.com a few years ago encouraging you guys to redevelop, so it's not that I'm entirely against the idea of losing this affordability, because I think there can be some greatness in exchange, but I'd be really interesting in to get your value from the money you're paying Mr. Harding to please get him on thinking about how to mitigate the affordability issue, whether it's subsidizing other affordable lodging in town or something. It's a big loss, and I'm not blaming you for it, but we have to take that seriously, lest the only people who can visit here are the ones who can pay $400. In some ways, the biggest thing is something I haven't heard anything from you folks, and that is to your comment about the freeway being a barrier. For us, the freeway is an opportunity. Our civic plans talk about covering the freeway, and we want it to be a park. Now, for you probably know, but for the folks who don't know here, if your project goes ahead and we don't cover the freeway as part of it, we will never, ever, ever be able to cover the freeway because there won't be the space for the pilings. Caltrans has not ruled out this project, although certainly there are some strong skeptical reasons for it. But if and until they have ruled it out, I could see no scenario in which it would make sense for our city council to approve anything and shut off a long-term opportunity to cover this freeway. Now, it can only make your design better. It's better for everyone. The cut-throughs could become true cut-throughs. I believe that you could get some additional income by having a restaurant over the freeway, connecting to the park. That might be a little extra way to work something else in there. I also think that it's possible that the residents of the city would support a significant bond measure in a few years to pay for the capital costs to do this. There's a strong desire for more parks and open space, and I see that as a real possibility. So I would continue to be in touch with our folks at City Hall and continue to keep that option open. Finally, on community benefits, I would guess staff has already talked to you about the Gateway Triangle, and I assume some contribution since the council, thank you, Kevin, and everyone else, the council made a good choice, I think, in not going with the earlier design and is going to be revisiting that design, and we no longer have any funding for that design, so I think among that. But as far as going back to the finances, and I'll close on this, I personally, we often hear people saying, oh, we can't pay people enough in the global south because our products are going to cost too much. And, we're not only consumers, we have all these other values as well. And for me, I would prefer to take less in community benefits and not have the skyline dominated by something. I'd be willing to take less money for quality of life. And for my friends from the east side and the north side, those of us from the south side, it isn't like this is an area away from people. Those of us who come up from Ocean Park, people who are in Tongva Park, people who come up Main Street, and people who are in Ken Genzer Square, we all will look up and we count. And I think, therefore, I would rather take lower, no condos, take less back, and a little longer period for you guys. I guess I got not too long. They cut the mic. Thank you.
No, I don't.
No, I didn't. It's nature telling me it's enough.
Yeah, I don't know, it's probably not working. Hey, thanks for the comments. I mean, it's part of the reason we're here is to get feedback, and so we do appreciate it. We're listening, and we want to hear what your feedback is, so we appreciate it. So thank you very much. None of these work now.
Nothing's working now. Yeah, this one. Your comments are going into the video, so not to worry. Another former mayor, Paul Rosenstein, followed by Ray, I can't read the last name.
Let me see the mic.
Dobson. Oops. Take that. The mic is on.
Battery is low, I guess. Hello?
Great. Followed by Ray, and then finally Arnold Green, and we've got about 15 minutes before we have to start packing up here. So.
Well, I'll be very short. One of the consequences of speaking late is everybody said what I wanted to say, so I'll be very short. But I agree also with the comments people made about the. That's this. I agree also with the comment. I'll sit over here. With the comments that people made about about the height and the condos. Well, first of all, let me say again, like others did, something positive. The design is great. The additional elements that will enhance the Esplanade is really important. Right now, when people walk from what will be the light rail station, the expo station, to the beach or the pier, McDonald's is probably the liveliest thing they'll pass right now, and so we need to do something about that. So that's very important. But again, I have the same concerns others did. I won't belabor it, but the height is something that to me is really unacceptable. To me, 5 stories would be appropriate, and maybe with adequate community benefits we could justify 6 or 7 or maybe 8. And keep in mind, 5 to 6 stories is what the other hotels that are comparable, from the Lowe's to Le Magaro, whatever it is, Mirago, the Miracle, whatever it is. Shutters, Casa del Mar, and others seem to manage okay. And of course, the Shore Hotel was mentioned as an example of what can be built. And I agree also with the comments people made about the condos. To me, if the city's going to give somebody extra dispensation over 5 stories or so, it should be for something like a hotel, which will really enhance the economy of the city significantly, but not for condos that really will not add that much to the ambience of the city. And I believe also that the success of the city, the charm of the city, the attraction of the city, is because of our low-rise standards that we developed in a revolt against some of what was already built in the 60s and 70s that people really objected to. One thing I want to add to what's already been mentioned, 2 things really. First of all, I'm a retired electrician, a union electrician, and I know that you're probably familiar with this already. I know that the Building Trades Council that represents the construction unions would be very happy to work out what's called a project labor agreement that you may be familiar with, and that will enable you to build this with quality construction efficiently and cost effectively also. So I would encourage you in the city to explore that opportunity. But finally, I would just like to echo Mike Feinstein's comments about covering the freeway, and whether it may not be possible to totally cover it with the community benefits from this hotel. Certainly a place to start would be at the corner of Ocean and Colorado, right here. A little slice over here. And the importance of that is right now the big deficiency in Tongva Park, which is spectacular, absolutely spectacular park. The deficiency is that from the Ocean Avenue side, from the west side, it's not near the intersection, the entrance to it. It's disconnected from the pier, Palisades Park, and the rest of the downtown. And if we could build something, at least initially, and the hotel can help do that.
May I have your attention,
yeah,
please?
we know,
the library will be closing in half an hour at 9 p.m. The
So-
second floor restrooms will be closing in 15 minutes.
Oh,
If
wait
you need
a
a
minute.
library card, please come to the customer services desk immediately.
Okay, well, I'm just
Thank
about
you.
finished. I think the point is obvious that at least in the corner there, the hotel, I think, can contribute a real community benefit in helping to cap that freeway as a start to what Michael envisions as capping the whole rest of it all the way to the Main Street Bridge at least, and enhancing the park. But we really need to improve the entrance to Togver Park and connect it to the other critical parts of the city, which isn't the situation right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ray Dobson, and our final speaker is Arnold Green. Just make sure you speak into the, talk loud and speak into the microphone.
Is it working?
This one is
not working.
Well, that goes on the city.
Is it working?
And you want to turn around so that people can see you on the camera and at home.
No, my questions would be to the city, that the city should be getting something out of this. I mean, I understand what you guys are up to. You're trying to make money, and that's understandable. But you are a real estate investment trust, and one of the things is the affordable housing. You say you discussed it. It seems to me that it should be down on paper before you start. And as a real estate investment trust, I know when I moved here about 5 years ago, there were quite a few half-built buildings that had been built by real estate investment trusts that went belly up. So they should get this on paper and get the money up front, the city, however many stories you get. And then the other thing is, if you do it 17 stories, how about the next guy that has a site and wants to build? How is the city going to turn him down? Anyway.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Mr. Green. Is he still here? Yeah. Hi. Thank you.
I guess my comment concerns point of view and perspective. That the case for the hotel has been cited frequently as an expanded view of the glorious sunset. Okay. 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 Okay, hear you. There has been a consistent point of view in the explanations of the attractions and advantages of the hotel, and that's a repeatedly sounded image of the widening view of the western sky at night for each floor, or the western sky for each floor that's added to the building. There's a wider and wider view for more people. My question or my suggestion is that there be a systematic rotation of the point of view to 180 degrees. That is, for each evocation of how the westward view over the ocean, etc., will be enhanced, magnified, glorified by the upper floors of the hotel. There's a shadow that's thrown on the opposite side, and I would like to see systematic figures, drawings, and population numbers of the people in the shadow of the hotel, that is facing the opposite way as all of these windows, and accounting, as it were, for what would be lost in the loss of the sun, as it says, in the shadow as it's thrown over playgrounds and who knows what. And without that kind of looking the other way, evidence, argument, etc., it's literally a one-sided presentation. Thank you.
I agree. All right.
I want to thank everyone for coming this evening. We are now at a time where we're going to have to start packing up and going because they're very strict about this. I see our friend over there. He's giving me the eye. But thanks for coming. If you want to submit further comments, our email address is on the handout there. We really welcome that. And we welcome your calls, emails. If you want to submit further comments on the comment forms, please feel free to do that. We really appreciate you coming tonight and putting up with this deficiency in our sound system. So thanks a million, and that's about it.